Hello, welcome to the second episode of U.S. Soccer Blog. I'm your host, Guitar, and this is my brother, Nihal. As always, we will cover all things U.S. national team. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to Germany for winning the World Cup. I think they were truly the best team, and what do you have to say about that?
Well, there's not much else to say. They were the best team in the tournament, I think, by far. They did it without some of their main players, and Gundogan and Royce, who are also very young. And they also are a very young team. They obviously have the veterans like Schweinsteiger and Lahm, but the rest of their team is pretty young. Cruz, Mueller, Goetze and Schürrle, of course, the two that hooked up on the final goal. So it'll be interesting to see if they can, what they'll do at the Euros and what they'll do in 2018. But of course, it was also a busy weekend in MLS. We have a lot to talk about. There were a lot of games. It was also a busy weekend for young Americans in Europe, albeit most of it was in the preseason. So we have a lot to talk about, and there was goals everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah, and let's start with the Colorado Rapids versus the Philadelphia Union. We're not going to go over every goal, but Dylan Powers, what do you have to say about this kid?
Well, he had the goal on a penalty kick. The game ended 3-3. Philadelphia was up 3-1 at home, and then they had a red card in between, which is when Dylan Powers converted, and Colorado scored one more in the 86th minute or something like that. And Dylan Powers, this is why I want to talk about this game. Dylan Powers is absolutely one of my favorite players. A young player, rookie of the year last year. He came into the league as more of a holding midfielder, athletic, can execute tackles really well, and is able to move the ball forward. But then last year, he played more as a number 10. So he's a really versatile midfielder. He can play anywhere in the central midfield, and he's someone who I think will break into the U.S. national team in the next couple of years, and he's really, really exciting to watch. Colorado is an exciting team to watch. They're very young, very pacey, and Dylan Powers holds down the midfield, so I'd recommend watching the Rapids.
Not necessarily going in order, but on the night of the World Cup, there was Seattle versus Portland, a big rivalry game that was on ESPN. Of course, scorer of 2 goals in the World Cup for the national team, Clint Dempsey scored a goal, and
Yep, Clint Dempsey scored a goal in the 71st minute to put Seattle up 1-0 in front of 67,000 fans in Seattle. What a wonderful atmosphere. What a great rivalry. Of course, Seattle coming off that 3-1 U.S. Open Cup win in extra time a few days beforehand. Dempsey's return, Yedlin's second game back. It was an incredible atmosphere. It was so much fun to watch. And it's just a testament to how far the game has come in this country. And places like Kansas City, Seattle, Portland, Salt Lake, you can just tell how soccer crazy these places are, and hopefully it's growing. It is growing, and hopefully we can sustain that growth. But of course, Dempsey scoring, it's nice to see him scoring 9 goals on the season so far, 5th in the league.
And he obviously had to miss some time because of the World Cup.
Right.
So San Jose versus DC, of course, Wondolowski scored, but what I want to talk about first in this game was Bill Hamid, the DC United goalkeeper. What do you think his future is in the U.S. national team?
Well, I think the next World Cup is Brad Guzan. And then after that, there's sort of 3 goalkeepers.
In the queue, yeah.
Yeah, there's Cropper. Guzan might still be there in 8 years. Mm-hmm. There's Cropper, the young man from Southampton. And then there's Sean Johnson and Bill Hamid. Sean Johnson of Chicago Fire and Bill Hamid of DC United. And, Bill Hamid has had a history of being sort of reckless. He has one of the worst red cards I've ever seen. But he was absolutely fantastic in this game. I mean, San Jose could have won. Probably should have tied the game. Alan Gordon had a header. Wondolowski had a goal he could have scored. Another goal he could have scored. He had 8 saves, I believe, and it was very Ochoa-esque. Of course, it wasn't against Brazil. Mm-hmm.
But there's so many chances where San Jose could have scored.
Right, there were some great saves. And of course, Wondolowski scored on deflection. You got to feel good for him after his miss against Belgium, unfortunate miss, but it was great to see him back in action. And the reception, he pretty much got a standing O from the San Jose fans, so it's good to see. But the fans are still behind him. He probably needs it, so.
Mm-hmm. And Toronto took on the Houston Dynamo, and Brad Davis scored a goal. Obviously, after a I think, disappointing World Cup, he scored a goal, and
yeah, he scored a goal to go up 2-0, and then Toronto scored 4 in a row.
That's getting MLS.
Yeah, MLS is a great league to watch. There were so many goals this weekend. DeFeo scored an amazing goal. Bradley wasn't in the starting lineup, unfortunately, but it was another great game. And, there was other games, too. New York versus Columbus. New York won 4-1. Bradley Wright Phillips having a fantastic season, scored another goal. Thierry Henry with a very classy finish.
Classy goal celebration, too.
Yeah, I know.
That.
He's just awesome. And then Will Trapp, another decent game. Another young holding midfield who I think could start in 2018 if Zayla doesn't choose the U.S. It'll be interesting to follow.
Very promising. Yeah. We talk about Yedlin coming through the youth system. Will Trapp, same situation, really.
Yeah, him, Luis Gil, another player that was at the Under-20 World Cup. Jose Villarreal, Daniel Cuevas. I mean, they're players who are... I know there's players that I'm missing. But these are good players, so... and then, other games. Sporting Kansas City beat Montreal 2-1. Don Dwyer gets another goal. Chicago beats New England 1-0, which was a surprising result. Sean Johnson, we were just talking about him, saved a penalty in the 90th minute. Mm-hmm. So he's both goalkeepers, future goalkeepers had very good showings. Mm-hmm. LA beat RSL 1-0.
Talk about penalty saves. Of course, Nick Armando probably won't be here in 4 years, but in the World Cup. But he saved a penalty.
Right.
Additional time.
Yeah. Marcelo Sarvis took a penalty. Donovan looked good at the end. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see if he's in the Gold Cup squad. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's
even
possible.
The Olympics, I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think it is possible. But Chivas beat Vancouver 3-1 in Vancouver. That was another good game, and that's all the MLS action. So it was an exciting weekend in MLS. Lots and lots of goals. Also, last night, the youth national team, the youth under-20 team, took on the Chile under-20 team in StubHub Center in Los Angeles, California. Came back from being 1-0 down. Novakovic scored in the 65th minute, and Zach Pfeffer scored in the 73rd minute off of an assist from Paul Arriola of Tijuana down in Mexico, who has so many American players. But I love Paul Arriola. He's an absolutely he's a stud. I just absolutely love him. We got a lot of good players on the under-20 team. And then the U17 in the last week had 2 draws as well. So it was a good week. It was a good weekend. And, of course, we have to talk about Americans in Europe. You want to start with that?
Yeah. For Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga, a team in the Bundesliga, they played a friendly, and Joe Zhao, we talked about in the last episode recently, signing from Hoffenheim to Borussia Dortmund. Starting all 90 minutes, of course, the preseason game, but still worth talking about.
Yeah, 90 minutes with the first team. I believe they won 4-1. So, it's nice to see Klopp give him a chance. And we'll see if he can break into the first team this season. Junior Flores, another American, played with the second Borussia Dortmund second team. And he had 2 assists against in a 5-0 win against the Singaporean national team. A shout out to our Singaporean friends.
Yeah. Mixed Diskerud had a goal in Europa League qualifying. Of course, there's that going on right now in the summer. Just
right. Second round of Europa Cup qualifying. I hope he moves. I hope he gets out of the Norwegian League, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Terrence Boyd had a goal in his debut for Red Bull off the bench in Bundesliga 2. Andrew Wooten also scored in Bundesliga 2. Sean Parker just recently went from Mainz to Augsburg. He came off the bench, and his brother Devontae Parker scored 2 off the bench for Mainz. So if you don't know, Sean Parker and Devontae Parker are brothers. They're German Americans. Sean Parker is about 21, I think, 22, and Devontae's a little bit younger. They haven't chosen who they play for. Which national team they play for. They both played for the Germany youth teams, but apparently their decision on who to play for will come soon, and they'll likely play for the same national team, so we won't have another Boateng situation. Hopefully they pick the U.S. They have a lot of promise.
So on Fulham, Heidemann scored versus Motherwell.
Right. Heidemann's a good player. Obviously, Fulham's in the championship this year. They're trying to get back into the Premier League. But him playing is a really good sign. And hopefully he can break into the first team as well. And then Rubio Rubin, who is absolutely my favorite youth player, along with Paul Areola on the youth side. He starts for Utrecht in the Netherlands, which was a big deal because he just signed for them, I think, last year. He's an absolutely fantastic player. He scored so many goals for our youth team, and it's great to see him. It's a good sign that he's starting, even though it's friendly. And I think he'll break in, and if he can break in already, wow, it's going to be awesome. He played in the U18s, and then he got called up to the U20 when he was still a U18 player, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that. We should probably check that beforehand. But, I mean, to be able to starting for Utrecht, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're moving past the performances in Europe, but one of the top stories that have happened since our last episode is Yedlin being linked with so many clubs and all of them being in Europe, and he sparked some interest.
Right, we've heard, was Anderlecht?
Anderlecht was one of them.
Anderlecht.
Kind of fizzled
We've
out.
heard Lyon, Napoli, Inter Milan, Liverpool. Of course, last week it was reported that Roma had agreed to a deal that would see Yedlin finish the season with Seattle Sounders, then get loaned out to Genoa in January, and then he'd become a Roma player in 2015, in the summer of 2015. I guess nothing official has happened yet. Today, someone reported that Bayern Munich was interested in Yedlin now. Lam is aging. Rafinha's there, but it's interesting. It's good to see so much hype around DeAndre Yedlin, and the asking price for the Sounders was
$6.5 million or €5 million. And where would you like to see him go? Because I personally think that Bayern Munich, I just think he'll have his chance at some point to go to a club like that. But
right.
Roma, struggling with depth, they need depth now. Right before the Champions League would be a great option for him. Same with Napoli.
Right. I think Roma's the best move, especially because they'll allow him to stay with the Sounders, then go to Genoa, a lower side in the Serie A, and sort of get a feeling for what it's like. And then next year, hopefully, he'll be ready.
And their fullbacks are aging too. Torresidis, 28, 29. I'll put an annotation there. And
he can play left back, and Mike Combs.
I'm saying
right
he can replace
right.
Torresidis at left back or provide some depth there.
Yeah, Mike Combs not young either.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was saying. Aging fullbacks. And
right. Bayern Munich too. Bayern Munich is aging. Alaba's obviously great. He's young. Rafinha's there. He's a good player. Lam. If you have Yedlin, maybe Pep Guardiola plays Lam in the midfield more. That gives him more of a reason to play in the midfield. But it's all speculation. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks and days.
Mm-hmm. Do you expect him to leave this coming week, or
I don't know.
Summer.
I'm just hoping I want him to go to Europe. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Europe, Freddie Adu had a trial.
Yeah, he had a trial with AZ Alkmaar, of course, Arne Johansson's club.
And Josie Altidor's former
club. Ernie Stewart works there. He also had a trial at Stabæk, Bob Bradley's club in Norway. His trial failed, or he didn't get a contract offer from AZ, which was disappointing. Still a young guy, 24, 25. We want him to get his career back on track, and if he does, he needs to put his ego aside. He needs to accept that he's not going to make as much money as he wants, and he needs to sign with the club and start playing. So,
yeah. So talking about Freddie Adu going to Europe, how about moving out of Europe? Jermaine Jones playing in Europe right now on Schalke, and
he's a free agent technically now.
Well, now, yeah. His contract just expired. He wants to move back to MLS, and
right. Well, he's been. Someone asked him on Fox Sports, do you want to play in Germany still? And he said, no. And he's always said, for the past couple of weeks, he wants to get back to MLS. He'd love to, and he said he's on the same level as Dempsey and Bradley, and it's hard to argue after his World Cup performance. He's obviously older than both of them, but I hope he comes back.
I would love to see him.
Yeah, his attitude is great for MLS. He had a great World Cup. Everyone recognizes his hairdo. Great personality to have in MLS. I would just love the move. I really want him to be here.
Yeah, surely he would be really exciting to watch in the U.S. But,
right. And then there's rumors a couple months ago that, or more than a couple months ago, that Xavi had signed with New York City FC. Then there are rumors that Xavi had signed with a team in Qatar. And now there are rumors that he's in talk with New York Red Bulls. This would be an absolutely fantastic signing. The best signing MLS has ever made. He was just in the World 11 6 months ago. You know, if you go to Italy, 19 out of 20 teams would take Xavi. I mean, probably 20 out of 20. He'd start for 19 out of 20. He'd start for 99% of the clubs in the world. This would be absolutely incredible. I know he's older. I know people are going to say he's a retirement league, but you need players who put people in the seats, who sell jerseys. Xavi to Henry, oh man, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
A Barcelona connection.
And not only that, I mean, you know, if Xavi moves to MLS, I mean, I think maybe even inspires some young kids through the youth systems to want to play.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you know,
idol.
We'll see more. You're seeing Kaká, hopefully Robinho. One more thing, Juan Agudelo still unattached, no club yet. So Hanover 96 fell through. Don't know what's going on with him. Hopefully he gets signed soon.
Yeah.
Matt Beasler, still nothing on him. Apparently the move to Freiburg is off, or it never was on. So, and then one final thing to end the episode. Dom Dwyer says he'd like to play for the U.S. men's national team. One of the top scorers in MLS, 23 years old. He's English. He'd have to be naturalized before the 2018 World Cup. He could be by 2017, along with Diego Fagundes and Darlington Nagbe. So, interesting. You know, we'll see where he goes. Depth is always good enough for the U.S. pool.
Yeah. With that, I guess we'd like to wrap up the show and stick around for more videos. Of course, if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. We'd love all your support, whether it be positive or negative.
Yeah, comment, give us some feedback, what we can do better, what we're doing well, what you'd like to see us talk about.
Hey, it's Sahil. We kind of messed up at the end, and that's why I'm voicing over. We would just like to say thank you for watching, and if you want to get updates on the U.S. national team, you can follow us on Twitter. The links will be in the description below. If you would like to see more videos from us, click the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.